Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's reading. I want to start off today by saying thank you to everyone who is doing their part to stay at home and minimize the impact of what's going on out there, the spread of corona. By staying at home, you're definitely doing your part. I know it's tough. I'm feeling that myself. The desire to, I'm an adventurer at heart, and to me, the joy of life is being out there doing adventurous things. And so to be in lockdown mode is really, really challenging. So I get it. I know that it's not the way you'd probably want to be spending your time. But I do so much appreciate the fact that you're doing that, because that is what enables the healthcare professionals to have the greatest chance they have at helping the people who do get it. So thank you very much for honoring that. Our cover for today is from the Ukraine. It's kind of a different looking image, very cool. Love their perspective on it. And so thank you to all the cafe fans in the Ukraine. Hope you're doing well in the midst of all of this, or as well as you can. Can't get that to stand, so we'll just leave it right there. Where we left off with John just getting exposed to the question, why am I here? And Casey starting to explain to him what that means, and he's kind of shocked by this, and he's going to get even more shocked here in chapter 7. So here we go. I was struck by how ludicrous my whole situation seemed. I was in a cafe, in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere, hearing about messages put on the fronts of menus to help customers deal with their worlds changing. Not exactly a typical start to a vacation. Little did I know this was just the beginning of what the evening held in store for me. Casey looked at me. You see, John, once you truly ask the question you saw on the menu, seeking the answer will become part of your being. You'll find yourself waking up with that question first thing in the morning, and having it constantly flash through your mind during the day. Although you may not remember it, you'll be thinking about it while you sleep too. It's a little like a gateway. Once you open it, it beckons you. And once open, it's very hard to close. I was beginning to realize the "why are you here" question on the menu had a much deeper meaning than I'd thought when I first read it. From the way Casey was speaking, it was clear it wasn't just asking why someone was in the cafe. And that's correct, said Casey, interrupting my thoughts. It's not about the cafe. It's asking why someone exists at all. I sat back in my booth and looked around, feeling stunned. What kind of place is this? I wondered. I tried to gather my thoughts. Listen, Casey, I just came here for some food. All this stuff you're talking about sounds very ominous. I mean, if what you just said about gateways and things constantly flashing through your mind each day is true, I'm not sure why anyone would ever ask themselves that question. I've never asked it, and I'm fine. Casey put the menu on the table. Are you? She asked. Are you really fine? She said the word fine with a friendly bit of mockery, as if teasing me to define it. Many people are fine, but some seek something more fulfilling than fine, something greater. And so they come to the "Why Are You Here" cafe? I asked sarcastically. Some of them do, she said in a soft, calm voice. Is that why you're here? I was taken aback. I didn't know how to answer her question. I wasn't sure what I was doing here. I wasn't even sure I knew what this place was. If I were totally honest with myself, I'd admit that for years, I'd wondered if there wasn't more to life than what I already knew about. It wasn't that life was bad. Sure, it had its frustrations at times, but particularly lately. But I had a decent job and good friends. Life was fine, even good. Still, in the back of my mind was this feeling I couldn't quite explain. That feeling is what inspires people to ask the question you saw, Casey said. I was shocked. Not just that she seemed to have read my thoughts again, although that alone was very disconcerting. I was shocked by the realization she might be right. I took a long, slow breath. I felt like I was on the edge of that cliff again. I took a half step forward. Casey, can you tell me more about the question? She nodded. As I said earlier, asking it opens up a gateway of sorts. The person's mind, soul, or however you want to view it will want to seek out the answer. The question will be at the forefront of the person's existence until they figure it out. Are you saying that once someone asks themselves, why am I here, they won't be able to ignore the question? I asked. No, it's not that they won't be able to. Some people glance at it and perhaps even see it, and then they forget about it. But for those individuals who ask the question and on some level truly want to know the answer, ignoring it becomes very difficult. Well, suppose someone asks the question and then finds the answer, I asked. What then? Well, that's the good news and the challenging news, she replied and smiled. As I mentioned, asking the question creates the drive to seek out the answer. Once someone finds the answer, an equally powerful force emerges. You see, once a person knows why they're here, why they exist, their reason for being alive, they'll want to fulfill that reason. It's like knowing where the X is on the treasure map. Once you've seen the X, it's harder to ignore the treasure. It's harder to not go after it. In this case, once someone knows why they're here, it'll be emotionally and even physically more difficult to not fulfill that reason. I sat back in my chair trying to process all that Casey was explaining. So it could actually make things worse, I replied. Like I said before, a person might be better off never asking the question. They could just go on as they have been and keep the genie in the bottle, so to speak. Casey looked at me. Some people choose that. It's something each person, when they get to that point, must decide for him or herself. I wasn't sure what to do or say. I laughed nervously, remembering how excited I'd been to finally see the light when I was lost. Now I didn't know what to think. This is a lot to be confronted with, I said. I hope not confronted with, but more like exposed to, replied Casey. You know that feeling you described earlier? It isn't something you can be told or have dictated to you. And if at any time you decide to walk away from it, the choice will be yours, and only yours. With that, she got up from the table. Speaking of walking away, I'm going to go see how your breakfast special is doing. I'd totally forgotten about the food I ordered. Now that she reminded me, I was slowly brought back to the realization I was still in a cafe and still starving. All right, everyone. That is our reading for today. Be well, be safe, be healthy, and I'll see you tomorrow.